Position in American sports feels the pressure or the weight on their shoulders like a quarterback. Hopes and dreams of an entire fan base of teams ride on whether their signal caller can lead them to glory. And boy, what a matchup of two elite dudes we have in this one. Welcome to the home of the Florida Gators, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, better known as the Swamp. As we'll see a squad from the SEC, the Texas Longhorns, taking on another SEC rival, the Florida Gators. Glad to have you with us for EA Sports College Football. I'm Reese Davis, David Pollack and Jesse Palmer with me in the booth. Guys, we're ready to tee it up. The Longhorns will kick it away to start us off. The returner will field it and try to do some business. He was looking for some running room, but not much to be found as he stopped at the 18. So Florida's offense will go to work first. And David, if you like big plays, and I know you do, and highlight reel catches, and I know you do, we've got a guy for you on this offense.
Man, it's so fun to watch him, not for defensive coordinators and defensive players, but this is a guy that can make plays all over the field. He will be highlighted, just the speed, the playmaking, the catching ability. Jesse, he will make plays early and often.
Man, it is so nice as a quarterback when you have a guy like that lining up, because you can just throw it anywhere in his vicinity and trust he's going to find a way to get it done and make the catch. Even when he's defended, he is always open, and you're going to see him line up all over the field, and he'll get the ball in a variety of ways.
Fires to the wideout. He's got it. Good job running that route to get past the sticks because he got nothing after the catch. Few teams improved over the second half of last season as much as Florida. And, Jesse, the biggest reason, the play of the young quarterback, DJ Lagway.
He was just unflappable a year ago, Reese, as a true freshman. We saw that on the field, but even in my time sitting down and meeting with him, he just has a poise and a demeanor and a confidence that you don't see very often in college. This is a different type of dude, and they're expecting him to take the next level, and with that, this program carrying it on their shoulders.
Plenty of distance between them and the sticks here on second down. Keeps it on the bootleg, looking to throw. Excellent coverage and good use of the hands to knock it away.
What a play by the defender that time, because he's matched up one-on-one man coverage against an outstanding wide receiver, and it's the defender who makes the play. Really, really good position. He was up to the challenge. It'll be interesting to see if this quarterback goes his way again.
Back to throw, it's Lagway. Blasted as he lets it go.
The hardest thing to do in football is to play on the road. So you want to get those fans as quiet as possible. That is a great opening possession for this defense, not giving up any big plays and forcing the fourth down.
The Gators will punt it away on fourth down. They'll have to boot it away for the first time tonight. Everybody stays in their lanes well enough, and they stop him at the 31-yard line. The Longhorns offense will go to work for the first time. And are we ever lucky to see these two great quarterbacks in action here today? And Jesse, it won't be long before we'll see them squaring off on Sunday.
Yeah, and these guys can both stress a defense for similar reasons, and we've seen it all year long, right? Both guys have tremendous arm talent, and both guys can hurt you running the football as well. So these defenses are really going to have to be careful with how they try and defend these two quarterbacks, David. This one could come down to which guy has the ball last.
Yeah, which is really, really cool. A big showdown. They know what's on the line. Man, these are two huge names. You know, brand versus brand. Big-time baller versus big-time baller. Trying to come out on top. Yeah, defenses, I feel bad for them today. That's not what this is about. This is about the QBs.
This junior making his presence felt and making the stop after a short gain.
And that run really didn't go anywhere. And a lot of times we don't focus on it enough. But how important those five guys are up front. To get on those defensive linemen, to try to move them out of the way, to get a run game going, it squarely falls on the shoulder of those five offensive linemen.
Third down play from the gun. And the incomplete pass will bring up fourth down.
Third and short like that on your own side of the field, you're just looking for a quick hitter. You're trying to get the ball out of your hand quickly, but the timing completely off there for the offense, and the ball falls incomplete.
And the Longhorns will punt this one away. First time we've seen their punt team tonight. No fair catches here, looking for room. And they'll get him down after the return at the 27-yard line. The Gators sending the offense back to work. That last drive fizzled out, Jesse. They had to punt it.
Yeah, they did. And, David, we're just going to have to do a better job this time around erasing the mental mistakes.
And just trying to solve the defensive riddle, understanding what they're trying to do to you and attack them.
After picking up a couple at 2nd and 8. On the run, it's Ball. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage.
And that's exactly what you want to do as a defense, man. You want to get penetration and not let that tank get downhill. Because when he gets downhill at that weight and that size, it could be a problem for your defense. Get him before he gets started.
Ball's at the 29. Defense can taste getting off the field. It's 3rd and long. Unloads to the wideout. Got his man downfield. And he was off to the races, and he gets it to the 45.
Man, this offense is so dangerous, Reese. They've got dudes all over the field that can make plays. There's a big gainer in the pass game.
You get a chunk of yards like that, now the defense is really on its heels. The Gators have it with a 1st and 10. Use the play fake. Now to throw. Under fire. Got a man. It's Jackson. Good execution. They move the sticks, and they've got it at the 33.
You know, sometimes when you're throwing against zone coverage, you need time for the routes to develop. So nice job by the quarterback there, being patient, allowing his receivers to work themselves open.
And the Gators are on the move. Quarterback on the keeper. Breaks into the open. Touchdown, Florida! He got a step and just dusted the field.
And you see the option being such a pain in the behind of the best programs in college football. When you got quarterbacks that have those multiple options, they're making you play very disciplined, and the QB takes it himself, gets in for the score.
They get set for the point after as we have the first score of the game. And he's got the extra point, and it's 7-0 to start this one. A very efficient 5-play scoring drive. And they finished it off with the 33-yard touchdown run. Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. He'll bring it back from inside his 5. Couldn't find a way to create that broken field as he stopped at the 25. So Texas has it again, and here comes the offense. Finding themselves down 7-0, they'd love to get a drive going here. Finds the tight end. And he laid the lumber to stop him from getting the first down.
And nice job by the defense staying glued to him. Getting him on the ground as soon as he catches the football. Knowing he's a threat, I'm not going to let this guy get out of my sights. Nice job by the D.
So now it's 2nd and long. Off play action. And here's a fumble way behind the line. He's got the ball and he'll try to pick up a few.
That ball carrier is very lucky. That easily could have ended up in the hands of the defense. You have got to do a better job of ball security.
To do to move the chains, keep this drive alive after that earlier sack. Back to pass, it's Manning. Throws to the wideout. Makes the grab along the sidelines, and they get enough for the first down.
And listen, the defense knew coming into this one, they were going to target him early and often. He is a weapon, and there's no mystery where the quarterback's going to be looking on critical down and distances. Let's see how they're able to cover him throughout the rest of this game.
Wide receiver comes in motion. They go to the ground. And this one will be stopped for no gain.
That back had absolutely nowhere to run the football. Actually, is he counting? I think he's counting to make sure there's only 11 guys on defense.
Got stuffed on first down. It's 2nd and 10. Hand off from the shotgun. They'll knock him down for a loss of a couple. Defense did a really good job stringing that one out.
You got to see the counter when you start to pull guys, understanding I'm going to spill that ball, make sure it bounces outside, out wide, doesn't come downhill. Great job on the defense understanding that and pursuing to the football.
This crowd unhinged, trying to make sure the Gators don't back down on 3rd down. Oh, he's got some space. He found plenty of room, and he gets it to the 39-yard line. Looks as if we have an injury on that last play, and we'll take a break to check him out. They'll snap it from the 39, 1st and 10. They'll move the wide receiver. Off the play fake on 1st down to throw. Snagged in the middle. It's Washington. They make the tackle, but he's got a fresh set of downs, and it's 1st and goal from the 7. Man down on the play as the officials take a break to let him be checked out. Time winding down in the quarter as they come to the line. Off the bootleg, wants to throw it. Working that left side now. Good throwing catch, takes it down to the 5 as the offense tries to cash in. We've reached the break. It's Florida with the lead. We've played one. Before we move on, let's have a look at the stats. They are lined up and ready to go and get things started here in the second. They'd love to start this quarter off with a touchdown right here. Grabbed behind the line, it's Wingo. They've got it down to the 3-yard line. Really well done on that throwing catch.
Nice job by the defense forcing the 3rd and goal. You can't allow any run after catch in these situations. Play aggressive, play tight, and play physical.
3rd and goal, and let's see if they can even operate in this noise. Looking to throw, it's Manning. And the defense makes a play, sacking him back at the 10.
When you're on defense and you get to play outside linebacker, it's about as good as it gets, right? I get to rush the passer just like this and put him on the ground. Then I get to cover in space. I get to move all over the place. Great job by the outside linebacker. The most fun position to play in college football.
Now on 4th down, they'll settle for a field goal try. This whole play is going to see if this kicker can operate in the sea of noise. And it slips just inside that right upright. That'll bring him to within 4.
And that's not the way they wanted to end the drive, but nice job being ready and your field goal kicker coming through and putting 3 points on the board.
After that last field goal drive, they're set to kick it away. He'll start the return inside his 5. Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. Florida has the ball back, and here comes the offense. How about the way they attacked the last time they had the ball, mixing run and pass and winding up in the end zone, Jesse?
That's why recruiting is so important. They've got weapons at every skill position on the field. Any of these guys is dangerous if they touch the football. Let's see what they do on this drive, David.
And so, Palmer, I got to take away something. I can't let them have everything and have success. I got to be aggressive against the run or play for the pass. I can't give them everything.
Leaves it with the back. He's out past the 35. He'll work and weave his way all the way up to the 45 before going out of bounds.
And I tell you what, we can focus on the left side of the line of scrimmage because that's where the play starts. But you don't get big gains when you run out wide unless wide receivers, yes, wide receivers, commit to blocking, staying on their guys. Really good job on the outside by giving the running back space to make the big play.
Motion from the wide receiver. Coming out on 1st down with the play fake. Caught in the backfield, it's Wilson. And that play just never got started as he's run out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage.
2nd down.
Working well behind the sticks on 2nd down. Dropping back, it's Lagway. Fires to the wideout. Pulls it in, it's Wilson. And he slipped through the crowd and he'll house it. Touchdown, Gators!
Quarterback's abilities to read the field is huge, and also the anticipation, the time to be able to throw the football, Jesse, and hit a guy in stride so he can get run after the catch and get in the end zone. That was a nice job by the quarterback.
Yeah, it's critical, David. Listen, a lot of times touchdown passes aren't thrown into the end zone. You've got to read the coverage, hit the open guy, and let him do the rest.
PAT unit on the field. And the extra point will tack another one onto this lead. quick work on that scoring drive, just 4 plays. And the scoring play coming on a 56-yard touchdown pass. They're set to kick it off, and this crowd now ready to get behind them. And he takes this from inside the 5. And they'll haul down the returner to start us on the next drive. And here come the Horns. They've got it again on offense. There's a little more urgency attached to this drive. They've only been able to put up a field goal and start this one down 14-3. Man, this sophomore quarterback unleashed a cannon on that one. Guys, the levels of hype and impatience awaiting the arrival of Arch Manning pretty much unsustainable over the last couple of years. Meanwhile, Quinn Ewers was pretty doggone good. But Arch is pretty deserving of all of this attention, I'd say, Jesse.
He's very, very talented. That jumps off the film when you watch him. You can see why he was so highly regarded.
There he goes! Running through contact. They finally get to him. And what a play there to pick up the first down.
And that's why this guy is such a weapon in this offense, because you don't have to throw it far downfield. Just get the ball in his hands. He catches it close to the line of scrimmage, but look what he was able to do after the catch. He gets an explosive play for this offense.
They've come out with answers on this possession, and now another first down. Scanning the field, it's Manning. Fires to the big fella. And they pick up just a few on that completion.
I like the idea by the quarterback there. You're trying to get this first down, so you find the tight end, see if he can make a guy miss or shake a tackle. Not able to get it done.
Well, will they dial up on second and a long way to go? Back to pass. Oh, they're after him. All kinds of room to throw that one in there. He's finally stopped and brought down at the 15.
Man, if I'm a defense, I got to find a way to get some more pressure on the quarterback or disrupt their timing and their rhythm. I can't give them these big chunk plays through the air. I got to be maybe a little bit more aggressive or do something a little bit different.
This first half of offense won't go on the highlight reel so far, but starting to get things moving, it's 1st and 10. Let's it fly. He's got it in the end zone. Touchdown, Longhorns.
And it's so underrated, the relationship between a QB and a wide receiver, the timing, the ability to know where he's going to be and be accurate with the football, that's what leads to nice touchdowns, Jesse.
Well, and the chemistry between these two guys has to be great when you're throwing into the end zone, because coverage is going to be tight. The throw might not be perfect, but this is something these two guys have been repping in practice over and over and over, and it's paying dividends now on game day.
He'll try to tack on one more. And the PAT will draw them 1 point closer. A very efficient 5-play scoring drive. And they finish it up with a 15-yard scoring toss. The kickoff unit is out there, and boy, did that last drive quiet this crowd. On the move from inside his 5. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. No reason to be in a big rush. They have some time here late in the half. Got it in the middle. It's Wilson. Found a little bit of room to operate, but he'll be stopped just short of the first down.
Yeah, and what a nice job seeing it, reacting, and throwing. When you run these RPOs, you want to read the defense really quickly. Is he playing run? Okay, boom, I'm going to throw the slant right behind him. Nice job by the QB.
The Gators in a good spot here with 2nd and short. One back in the backfield, he gets to carry. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that.
And that's why he is an all-American caliber player. He is just so physical and dominant against the run. He's able to shed blockers, use his athleticism, use his speed, get to the ball carrier and bring him down. Simply one of the best box defenders you're going to find in the entire country.
The Gators really need to keep this drive alive on third down. Back to throw, it's Lagway. Unloads to the wideout. Catch in the middle, it's Wilson. Defense on skates that time. They finally drag him down at the 42.
And what a massive play for the offense. Not only getting the football across the 50, but they've now put themselves in position to steal a few more points here before the half.
And the Gators come to the line with a new set of downs. Wants to go up top on first down. With the catch, it's Ball. And a good job of coverage by that defense, just a short pickup. They were able to make the completion, but he had to pick his way for just a little bit. Needed a little more help to spring him for some yardage.
Yeah, if you're going to have success when you throw it outside like that, you're going to need some more blocking and better blocking downfield. Give the defense credit, though. They were able to rally and made a tackle.
Receiver wasn't ready for the throw, incomplete.
Well, he's been Mr. Dependable early in this game. The first 5 attempts, all complete. Finally, the defense able to force an incompletion when they throw his way. This guy's route running his hands. It's a matchup problem, but the defense finally has something good happen.
Wants to keep it in the air. Got it in the middle. It's Hawkins. That'll be enough for the first down as they mark it down at the 31-yard line.
This offense is clicking, and clearly everything is working. The offensive coordinator's calling good plays. The quarterback and his unit is executing. And this defense right now, they have no answers.
Offense threatening, 1st and 10 from the 31. Looking downfield on first down. Grabbed in the middle, it's Jackson.
And that's a really nice route by the wide receiver. Just understanding I got to win right now. I got to get inside of that guy. And I know I'm going to get contact. You run over the middle of the field on a slant, you're going to get hit. Nice job securing the catch, making the play.
They'll immediately call timeout. The Gators can play this second down a lot of ways with just a few yards to go. On the ground with the counter. This junior making his presence felt and making the stop after a short gain. The Gators come to the line on 3rd and short, looking to keep the drive moving. Muscling ahead on 3rd and short. Came through like a shot and knocked him down for a loss of 5.
Well, you saw the speed on defense on that play. It's 3rd and short. They're trying to go toss, but the defense's ability to go east-west and really scrape down the line of scrimmage, get to the ball carrier for a tackle for loss, now setting up 4th down.
The offense quickly calls timeout to stop the clock. And with just a few seconds remaining here in the first half, they'll try to kick a field goal. This might be a little easier if it were straight on, but a 43-yarder from the right hash. Didn't make him sweat at all. It's good. The lead now 7 here in the 3rd quarter. That's going to wrap up the first half here, and now we join Kevin with the halftime update.
Thanks, guys. What a scene there in Gainesville. What a fine college football game we've got. And this has just been a passing clinic, really, by both offenses. They've effectively stretched these defenses, forcing the secondaries to cover every blade of grass, and they've still racked up big plays. Man or zone, pick your poison, or lay some blame at the feet of those pass rushers who can't do anything against the maulers on that offensive line. With that said, let's send it back to our guys and all those chomping hands there in the swamp.
And the Gators will kick it off to start the second half. On the run from inside his own 5. Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. Here comes the Texas offense. Tight game as we start the third quarter, and we'll see what type of adjustments they made at halftime.
And getting the ball first here, I think, is such a big deal. Like, I get the first chance to make a statement, to make the adjustments, to create some momentum for my squad right here in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think it's so important for this offense to set the tone here early in the second half, to get a nice drive going, build that confidence, and get your defense ready to come on out, get a stop, and change the complexity of this game.
Now the play fake. Trying to make magic on the scramble. He gets the job done, picking up the first down, then getting down.
Hey, listen, it's important at that position to be able to be good off schedule. Everything's easy when it's on time. You can get the ball out, but when things break down, they get off schedule. You've got to have a guy back there that can make the right decisions. He did exactly that.
They'll snap it from the 36. They've got a first down. Back to throw, it's Manning. Right on the money. Dragged down, but they'll move the sticks for a first down.
And after giving up that completion, guys, I wonder if the defense is going to decide to stay in zone or maybe mix things up, a little more man coverage, maybe blitz.
The Longhorns come to the line with a fresh set of downs. Caught behind the line. It's Moore. And good coverage by the defense, just a short gain.
My old coach said to never go broke taking a profit. Take what's there, take the positive yards, and never complain.
Line getting set on second down. Pulls and fires complete. And there were no creases or crevices to run through, and they shove him out of bounds. The noise is deafening, trying to make sure only the Gators get out of the swamp on third down. The RPO, it's complete. Really good surge for this offense. They move the chains, and he's got it at the 34.
And it's on third downs like this. If you want to attack the middle of the field, you got to look for the tight end. Really nice route. Great job looking that football in. You can tell this quarterback really has a lot of confidence when he's in the pocket looking for the big fella, and they're able to hook up there.
They just keep firing. It's complete to the left. Turning it on. He was running through tackles and picked up the first down and finally got knocked down.
And a great job by the QB finding the running back, getting the football where he can do some damage after the catch, and most importantly, get the first down.
Snap's going to come from the 23 on 1st and 10. Handoff from the gun. And he was fortunate not to lose yardage on that play, able to wedge it back to the line of scrimmage.
Awesome job up front by this defensive line, being so good at the point of attack and eating blocks, eating some double teams that allows these linebackers to run free, unencumbered, and get to the football.
They got nothing on the last play. It's 2nd and 10. They feed him again. Really good running, gets it into the red zone, and they'll have it at the 16.
They just sense the frustration starting to build, not only on offense, but I think with this running back as well. He is so talented. He's had some massive games throughout his career. Just haven't been able to get him going early in this game. That was a pretty good run there. Let's see if he can turn it on here in the second half.
Throws to the wideout. And he's on his way. He'll go all the way. Touchdown, Texas! There have been miniseries, novels, movies, long-form plays that have been over in shorter period of time than that drive. That was a marathon.
And that's just so frustrating when you're a defensive guy, time and time again, trying to get the stops, and they just keep making the plays, and they punch it in for a touchdown. Demoralizing.
Setting up for the extra point and the top. And after that extra point, we have a tie ball game in the third quarter. An 84-yard drive there, and they close the deal with a 16-yard throw for the touchdown. They're coming out to tee it up for the kickoff, and that last score was a real buzzkill for this crowd. He'll bring it out. It's ball. Nice job by the kickoff team. Everybody stayed in their lanes, and they'll stop him at the 16. The Gators sending the offense back to work. That touchdown lead they had has disappeared, and now we have a whole new ball game as they start the drive. And the defense holds firm. No pickup at all on that play.
Yeah, nice job by the defense. That's what you're supposed to do. As soon as they catch the football, you want to limit that yards after the catch, and he went nowhere after the catch. Nice job by the D.
Man, what a finish we could have. Tie game, third quarter here, 2nd and 10. On the ground, it's ball. He kept those legs moving, got 3 out to the 19.
And I think this has probably been the most surprising thing of this game so far. This guy's one of the best running backs in the entire country. They just can't get him going. He's never been able to get into a rhythm. You got to give the defense so much credit because they have been able to shut this guy down, and they got to keep that up here in the second half.
To throw, it's Wagway. Finds his big tight end. Nice move to keep running. They'll pick up the first down as he gets it out to the 27-yard line.
It's not a great feeling on defense, too. When you're blitzing, you're expecting to get a sack. You're expecting to get a hit on the quarterback. If the offensive line and running backs pick it up, because now you have one less guy in the back end trying to cover all these receivers and tight ends, and you know you're in trouble.
Single back formation, and they give it to him. Got enough for the first, and he's still going. Steps out at the 34-yard line. Big pickup on that one in this offense within striking distance.
Well, the defense knew coming into this one, Reese, that this team was going to try to use their speed and take advantage of it, and they did right there. Nice gain on the run play to the right.
Found plenty of running room in that defense. They've got to find a way to get there and make the tackle in the open field.
Yeah, and they got to do a good job with their eyes, finding the football, and they've got to get a lot of bodies to this guy because he is fast.
The Gators have their offense in high gear. Pulls it in. It's Jackson.
And there you see the bind that the RPO play can put a defender in. That linebacker had to make a decision. Was the running back going to get the ball? He thought so, so he bit up, and that allowed the slant to be thrown in behind.
The Gators can really attack on this 2nd and short. The play action fake. Caught in the backfield, it's Hansen. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage.
And offenses keep track of yards after catch consistently. There was none there. Nice job by the defense swarming to the football as soon as he caught it and getting him on the ground.
And the Gators come to the line on 3rd down, trying to keep this drive alive. They'll try to run for it. They tried to go smash mouth on 3rd and short, and it did not work against this defense.
Yeah, that's a really good job by the defense because when you get in that 3rd and medium area, listen, you got to be worried about the run and the pass. Did a good job playing both, got it stopped, now forcing a 4th down.
On 4th down, going to the air. Hauls it in, the first down and more. And he's knocked down immediately, but not before he moves the chains. What a ride. It's been through the first 3 quarters of this game. We are all tied up. Let's check out some stats. These two teams about to find out what they're made of as we open the 4th all tied up. Final stands of the game, and we'll start with the first down. Grab behind the line. It's Wilson.
Offenses want to get the ball to their playmakers really fast. They try to throw the wide receiver screen, but how about the defender? He was right there in his space, got him on the ground as soon as he caught him. He was ready for that play.
Plenty of work to do here on 2nd and long. The give to the tailback. And this one will be stopped for no gain.
Well, they want to come out and try to get the run game established, but up front defensively, they made a play. They gave up nothing on that one.
Got to find some breathing room if you're going to establish yourself on the ground, and there wasn't any that time.
Yeah, Reese, I wonder now if this offense is maybe going to try to get to the perimeter of the field and see if they can use their speed to hurt this defense.
Looking to throw, it's Lagway. Got it behind the line. It's Hansen. He couldn't find anywhere to go, and now it's 4th down.
And listen, that's not a surprise. Obviously, they want to throw the football on 3rd down and try to get a 1st down, but it got absolutely nowhere. Great job by the defense rallying up and actually getting a tackle for a loss.
And now on 4th down, they will put it on the shoulders of the kicker to save them with his foot. Splits the uprights right down the middle. They have taken the lead here in the 4th.
Big-time kick right there, man. 4th quarter, clutch time. You needed to come through to take the lead, and now the pressure goes to the defense. You got to keep this lead. Got to get a stop or 2 more, and you can get the dub in this football.
And he'll return it and try to get behind his blockers. The Longhorns sending the offense back onto the field. Catch in the middle, it's Moore.
Hey, listen, on offense, just take what the defense gives you. Quarterback looks out wide, he sees the DB way off of the receiver. Throw him the easy hitch pass, he'll take that completion.
And the Longhorns with myriad options after that big pickup on 1st down. Here's the handoff. They make the stop, but he'll have enough yardage for a 1st down.
And this is a guy that can find you the hidden yardage. That play, he just pushes the pile to get that 1st down.
Now on 1st down from the 43-yard line. They'll give it to him again. Quick spin on the ride. Got enough for the 1st. They finally get him stopped, and this veteran junior running back comes up with a nice play. Looks as if we have an injury on that last play, and we'll take a break to check him out. The Longhorns will snap it on 1st and 10. Wide receiver going in motion. Grabbed in the backfield. It's Shannon. On the move at the 30. And he's brought down after a nice gain.
Well, I know the tight end did some good things after the catch, but got to give the quarterback credit, too, for the location of the throw. Because he put it out in front of his big man, he was able to make the catch and accelerate, creating some distance there between him and the defense.
From the 25-yard line, it's 1st and 10. From the gun, the running back has it. Able to make the stop after a gain of 2 to the 22.
Got to give this defense credit because they have bottled this guy up all game long. He's one of the best running backs in all of college football. Everybody was expecting him to have a big one today. Until that to this defense, though. They played with great effort. They've gotten hats to the football, and they have been able to shut him down.
Quick release on the RPO. Didn't pick up a lot there. Moved it forward just a few. To the air, it's Manning. Sweet cut there. He'll be stopped short of the line to gain. Needed about 3 more on that one.
And as an offense, that's just why you cannot get behind the sticks in these types of situations. 3rd in California is hard to complete and is hard to convert for anybody. And even though the running back is able to do something positive on that 3rd down play, it's just too many yards to gain, and now they're forced to punt.
Guess not all doinks are bad. Off the right, up, right, and through. All tied up here in the 4th quarter.
Well, he didn't hit it as well as he would have liked, but he had some good fortune. After hitting the upright, it goes in, and his team is now tied it late.
Coming down the stretch in the fourth, and we are all tied up, about set to kick it away. Coming out with it, it's Hawkins. Rolling the dice to bring it out of the end zone did not work out as he stopped at the 13. Running back searching for a hole. Picks up the first down, still moving. All down, but he has enough to move the chains.
I love the play call running the football here in the fourth quarter because with the score what it is right now, everything is at your disposal on offense. You are not panicking. This isn't throw every single down, all of a sudden 2-minute air raid type stuff. You can run the ball. You can do all of your stuff, personnel, shifting, motioning. You just got to be very, very careful and absolutely cannot turn it over.
The Gators trying to find their way forward after the big loss on the last play. He'll do it himself. Crosses the 30, he's got away. And he's brought down at the 40-yard line, and that'll be a first down. Gators just got that huge run. They'd love another explosive play. Back to pass. It's Lagway. Gets it out quickly. Boy, that was a precision play all the way around. Throw, catch, tackle, bang, bang, bang.
I got to tell you, I love the thought on offense. You want to get one of the fastest players in the country the ball in space, see if he can break one, make you a big play in a 2-minute situation. That's just a better job tackling by the defense. They practice that all week, and it shows up big here late.
Second down, they'll go to the air. Makes the catch. It's Sturdivant. And the defense makes the immediate tackle, but he has enough for the first down.
Really nice job by the quarterback understanding I needed to throw this ball hard. Like, I got to fit it in there tight. And a nice job by the wide receiver wearing it because he really didn't have a choice because he was going to wear that one regardless.
And the Gators have it with a 1st and 10. He's taking the shot. And the DB making a huge play, knocking it away downfield.
And that's a good job by this defense. The 2-minute situations can be tough, especially communicating, and you know they want to push the ball down the field, but a lot of times it's towards the sidelines. They protect the middle of the field, play great defense all across the board.
They're dealing with a 2nd and long. Runs through a tackle. And a nice solid pickup there before the defense wrestles him to the ground.
And this offense has got to get somewhere. Man, that's a couple plays in a row. Like, the clock is their biggest enemy. So we got to find a way to manufacture, push the ball down the field, make something happen with that clock running out.
A field goal attempt from here would be 54 yards. They'd love to pick up a few on 3rd down. Off the RPO, quick throw to the right. They make the stop about 4 yards short of the first down. Quick timeout by the defense there, trying to make sure everyone has the same call. So here we are on 4th down, and this field goal kicker is going to face all the pressure in the world. He got it. They're celebrating on the sideline after taking the lead, but still time on the clock.
That's a big-time kick. Had to have it. Nice job taking the lead. Nice execution. Now, defensively, you know exactly what you're getting in for. One more stop, and this one's over.
So the kickoff team is out there ready to boot it away after putting up a field goal. Let's see what the defense can do. Here he comes from inside his own 5. He was looking for some running room, but not much to be found as he stopped at the 18. A little bit backed up to start this drive from their own 18-yard line. The give to the right. Oh, better look out! Good vision and determination there to find his way up to the 23. The offense gets a quick timeout. At this point, every second is precious. Looking for a man. It's Manning. Pucks it out of the air. Moves up to the 34-yard line. Give him a 10-yard pickup. Offense takes a timeout. 27 seconds left. Remember, all they have to do is get it close enough for a field goal here. To the air on first down. Fires to the right. Got his man. And he's brought down after a nice gain.
And they've trusted him to throw the football all game. I expect nothing to change whatsoever. They're going to put it on his back, or his arm, I guess you could say, and let him throw this team to victory. It's a close game, tight game. I'm rolling with my best player.
Here comes the offense on 1st and 10 from the 47. Caught over the middle. It's Washington. And that had all the makings of hug meet windshield. But how about the little corner taking on the big tight end and keeping him